Good afternoon, everyone. I am Arvise Washington. I'm the Deputy Director for the Department of Navy's Office of Small Business Programs, which is led by our distinguished director, Mr. Jimmy Smith. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks, Mr. Smith, for helping us lead this webinar. Welcome to our webinar series, where we've been hosting webinars on various topics throughout this year. You can view previously recorded events on our website under the Outreach and Past Events tab, or visit our YouTube channel. I would like to direct you to our website at www.secnav.navy.mil/small-business, where you can find a wealth of information, including our Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs Operations Plan. You can locate your small business professional and find information on how to do business with the Department of Navy, including the Command's Long-Range Acquisition Forecast. To learn more about our upcoming events, you can register for a mailing list on the homepage of our website, and I encourage you to connect with us on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I would also hope that you would seize the opportunity to ask questions using our Q&A feature in this platform. So I'm so excited about today's topic, the Mentor-Protégé Program. We have with us today Ms. Mercedes Thurston, who assumed her position as the Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs Mentor-Protégé Program Manager in April of this year. Prior to joining OSBP, Ms. Thurston served as a contracting officer with an unlimited warrant at Naval Sea Systems Command. Since beginning her acquisition career in 2007, Ms. Thurston has gained experiences dealing with various acquisitions to include major weapon systems, shipbuilding, research development, and professional engineering services. We are honored and thrilled to have Ms. Thurston as a part of our team, and she's our personal cheerleading coach. Thank you, Ms. Thurston, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Washington, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for giving me this opportunity. As Ms. Washington said, my name is Mercedes Thurston, and I am the Mentor-Protégé Program Manager for the Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs. So let's get started with the slides. Thank you. Next slide, please. So, what is the Mentor-Protégé Program? The Mentor-Protégé Program is a program that can assist small businesses in developing and enhancing skills, capabilities, and efficiencies that will help them to, 1, participate more effectively in the federal government contracting place, 2, successfully perform contract work, and 3, be a value-added member of the defense industrial base. The program was established in fiscal year 91 in response to DoD prime contractors' concerns for small disadvantaged businesses that did not possess technical capabilities necessary to perform subcontractor requirements. The program attempts to address this challenge by helping primes achieve their small disadvantaged business subcontracting goals. The program provides incentives to DoD prime contractors to assist small businesses in enhancing business development and technology capabilities, increasing subcontracting participation in government and commercial contracts, and positioning small businesses for prime contracting opportunities by increasing protégé firms' technical and business infrastructure capabilities. Next slide, please. The biggest objective of the Mentor-Protégé Program is to establish, increase, and maintain a strong and more capable small business industrial base to support the warfighter. This is done by positioning small businesses for prime contracting opportunities, furnishing technical and business assistance to increase the small business industrial base, competitive markets, and utilization of non-traditional and commercial companies. fostering the establishment of long-term relationships, enhancing business development and technology capabilities, increasing DoD protege firms, and demonstrating benefits to the warfighter through technology transfer. By fostering and establishing by fostering the establishment of long-term business relationships, which benefits DoD and the defense industrial base, we're increasing the small business industrial base and allowing them to play a major role or bigger part within the Navy in assisting of the warfighters. Next slide, please. The program also provides various benefits to both industry and government. Industry capabilities can be enhanced, resulting in higher quality products and services. Industry mentors can provide direct assistance, including financial assistance to smaller subcontractors, and mentors gain a qualified subcontractor through the protege and can possibly avoid competitions for subcontractors. All of the benefits are translated into benefits for the government and the Department of Navy. The mentor-protege relationship can bring innovative technology into an established acquisition program, develop a more capable small business industrial base and robust supply chain, as well as ensure contractors have not just the capability, but capacity to meet government requirements. Next slide, thank you. This chart shows the amount of work proteges have contributed to the Department of Defense industrial base from 2013 to 2017. Since 2013, current and former mentor-protege program proteges have contributed almost $16 billion worth of work to the DoD industrial base. In fiscal year 17 alone, there were over 350 former proteges on prime contracts for DoD work. Next slide. This chart shows the amount of work proteges have contributed to the Department of Navy's industrial base from fiscal year 2016 through fiscal year 2020. From fiscal year 2016 to fiscal year 2020, current and former mentor proteges have contributed over $2 billion worth of work to the Department of Navy's industrial base. And in 2020 alone, there were over 214 proteges on former and current proteges on prime contracts for the Department of Navy. General information about the Mentor-Protégé Program. The Mentor-Protégé Program is open for business. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2020 reauthorized the program through 30 September 2024. The NDAA made a few other changes, including decreasing the agreement length from 3 years to 2 years and removed the requirement for small businesses needing to be half the size standard of their NAICS code. The DON awards and administers mentor-protege agreements in accordance with DFARS 21971, the appendix of DFARS 21971, and the Navy's Mentor-Protege Program Guidebook. The Navy is always accepting new agreements, but we guarantee that we will review and approve agreements during the month of June and November. If workload permits, our office will process agreements outside of those timeframes. The Department of Navy is looking for agreement efforts that focus in developmental areas of knowledge base, manufacturing, and research and development for those small businesses. This chart details the amount of funds DoD invests into the key development assistance areas from 2016 to 2019 and the estimated spending values for 2020 and 21. Next chart, thank you. This chart details the amount of funds that the Navy has invested in key developmental assistance areas from 2016 to 2020. As you can see, we invest a lot in knowledge-based services, as well as manufacturing and research and development. In fiscal year 2020, the Navy actually outdid itself in funding the research and development than we did manufacturing. So there's opportunity in all of the key focus areas. Next slide, please. So just because protégés are small doesn't mean they can't make a difference. This slide demonstrates just a few of the Navy program of records that current and past protégés have impacted. One of the programs is My Navy HR, which is a Navy personnel and pay modernization effort that works to develop the infrastructure to support a modernized app-based personnel service. A DON protégé is leveraging their expertise in agile software development as a subcontractor of this program. A non-PERI award-winning protégé provides complex products and services to include customized testing capabilities and solutions that contribute to the development process of products and services deliverable on some of the programs listed above, including the Zumwalt class destroyers. Next slide, please. So how can a company or how can these contractors participate within the Mentor-Protégé programs? Well, let's start with the mentors. Mentors must get their application approved at the DOD level. Once your application has been approved at the DOD level, the mentor would then align themselves with the protégé. The Navy does not release a solicitation or a BAA like some of the other services do. We leave it up to the mentors and the protégés to initiate activity with the Navy in their interest to participate in the Mentor-Protégé program. This is done by the mentor identifying a major small business command for sponsorship. Selecting a command for sponsorship should be based on the products or service the mentor and the protégé can provide to that command. For example, if the contractors specialize and provide products and constructions, one should not seek sponsorship from NAVSEA or NAVAIR, but they should be seeking sponsorship from NAVFAC. Once you've identified that major buying command, you then want to have an introductory briefing. In the introductory briefing, stakeholders reach a tentative agreement and a tentative sponsorship is solidified. The mentor then provides a white paper or initial documentation, within the introductory briefing, the mentor provides a white paper or other initial documentation identifying proposed agreements to the major buying command and customers supported. Once that introductory briefing has concluded and all stakeholders have agreed that or tentatively agreed that sponsorship has been met, a formal mentor-protégé agreement is submitted to the major buying command, which is then submitted up to me and the Department of Navy's Office of Small Business Office for review and approval. Once the mentor-protégé agreement is approved, funds will be submitted to our Center of Excellence and a standalone contract will be issued to the mentor to then go forth and execute the mentor-protégé agreement. Next slide, please. As mentioned in my previous slide, is the responsibility of the mentor and the protégé to determine which major buying command would sponsor their agreement. The partnership should identify how the proposed agreement would benefit the major buying command and which customer or program of record will be supported. The Navy has 10 major buying commands, each responsible for specific duties to support the warfighter. Each command has identified challenges and capabilities gaps in which they believe small businesses can fill. Each command has a small business director and small business professionals that can help identify these opportunities. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now you may be asking, who can be a mentor? In order to be eligible to be a mentor, a contractor must be eligible to receive federal government contract, have prime contracts with at least one active subcontracting plan, have DoD contracts totaling at least $100 million from previous fiscal years, and must demonstrate that they can provide qualified assistance, be in good financial health, and not be disbarred or suspended. Some benefits mentors gain from participating in the program is developing long-term business relationships with small disadvantaged businesses, developing or increasing the small disadvantaged business subcontracting base, and increasing opportunities with Protégé to win new contracts and subcontracts. How can you be a Protégé, or who's eligible to be a Protégé? To be eligible to be a Protégé, you must fall within one of the socioeconomic categories in the middle of this slide. Recently added was the last bullet, which identifies any entity providing goods and services in private sector critical to enhancing DoD supplier base. A Protégé must also be eligible for award of a federal contract and must not be owned by the mentoring company. Protégé benefits include gaining technical assistance, increased teaming opportunities with mentors, and long-term industrial-based partnerships with the Department of Defense. So, what's the criteria for a mentor-protégé agreement? Mentor-protégé agreements require a length of 2 years. The agreement includes the details of the agreement includes the details of the developmental program for the protégé, specifically milestones, goals, and estimated dollar amounts of potential subcontractors between the mentor and protégé. The agreement must also show value to the Department of Defense, Department of Navy, and the Defense. Finally, the agreement must detail the cost breakdown for each year, not to exceed $1 million per year. Next slide. So it's Mentor Protégé 107. Next, you'll have your actual mentor-protégé agreement. In this portion, all elements of DFARS regulation must be addressed separately. And you can also use the mentor-protégé agreement template that we provide in the DON guidebook on the Department of Navy's website. Next would be your benefit statement or return on investment document, which clearly identifies the benefits and the return on investment and or the return on investment to the Department of Navy and or the Department of Defense. Next would be your technical proposal, which technically consider the most important part of the proposal. It includes an easy to follow cost proposal, identification of labor hours associated to each task, descriptions of labor hours and values associated to tech transfers, which should be approximately 70% of total proposed costs, description of labor hours and values associated to business development tasks, and a milestone chart that includes appropriate metrics to measure progress and completion of major development tasks. And finally is your cost proposal. While there are many specific criteria elements, a few major points we want to highlight in this presentation is the identification of your costs within 12-month increments, and include a separate cost summary page for base year and the price option. Incidental costs or other than direct costs must be less than 10% of the total cost of the proposal. Details and more information on the numbers in the breakout are again in the Department of Navy's guidebook, the Department of Navy Mentor-Protégé guidebook. Okay, so I just listed out a lot of what's included in the proposal. Overall, the proposal package must specify how the developmental program will increase ability to participate in DoD contracting, increase subcontracting opportunities, and address identified needs to enhance the ability of the small business to perform within the federal government. Just so we're clear, a mentor-protege agreement is a marriage between the protege and the mentor. And we, the Navy, we don't necessarily partner mentors and proteges together because it is that marriage, and we don't want to have any prearranged marriages. We like for the companies to have had some interaction with each other before they try to go into a mentor-protege agreement together, because the only way for an agreement to be successful is if both parties have a vested interest and have ultimate goals that will benefit everyone in the future. Next slide. So what are the types of the mentor-protege agreements? We have 3 types of mentor-protege agreements that I'll go through in the next 2 slides. Next slide. So the first type of mentor-protege agreement is a reimbursable one. And this type of agreement provides monetary reimbursement for cost only of developmental assistance incurred by the mentoring firm and provides to a protege firm in accordance with the approved agreement. So I go back to the conversation or to the previous slide above where we said you had to list out in cost detail the costs that were going to be associated with it. This is where it's very important when you're developing your mentor-protege agreement to lay out all of the costs for a reimbursable type agreement, because you will only be approved for the cost that you get from that's laid out in the actual agreement. So allowable costs include such things as assistance provided by HBCUs, minority institutes, or PTACs, direct labor costs for assistance by the mentoring firm, and costs for developmental trainings and conferences. The next type of mentor-protege agreement is a credit agreement. And this allows prime contractors to receive credit towards their subcontracting goals for costs incurred for assisting a small business when putting a mentor-protege agreement in place. Credit agreements are administered by DCMA directly, and DCMA will work with the prime contractor to determine how much credit they get towards their subcontracting goals. And the final type of mentor-protege agreement is a hybrid. This is a combination between a reimbursable and a credit agreement, where 1 year is credit towards your subcontracting goal, and the other year is cost reimbursable. The determination of which year goes first is laid out and agreed upon in the mentor-protege agreement. And a hybrid mentor-protege agreement is administered by the Navy. However, it requires approval from DCMA. Next slide. So to assist with the new cybersecurity compliance, participants in the Mentor-Protégé Program includes participation in the Project Spectrum pilot program. The chart above details the CMMC compliance timeline and shows by fiscal year 2025, CMMC compliance will be required for all DoD contracts above the micro purchase threshold, except for COPS. The Project Spectrum initiative works with small businesses and supports them on their compliance journey. Next slide. So what is this Project Spectrum? Project Spectrum gives mentor-protege participants educational training resources, tools, and direct coaching to support manufacturing, cyber hygiene, cybersecurity policy, regulation, and upcoming CMMC compliance. Ultimately, Project Spectrum is ensuring that participants are CMMC compliance ready. Project Spectrum is available to all small and medium businesses. However, your participation in the Mentor-Protégé Program allows you to participate in Project Spectrum at no cost to you or your prime or your mentor that sponsors you within the Mentor-Protégé agreement. Next slide. Thank you. The overall expectation of the Protégé participation in Project Spectrum is to make cybersecurity a priority and commit resources to maintain compliance. Participation in the pilot program, especially for Protégé participants of manufacturing companies that may not have a dedicated or on-site IT support staff, will directly affect their journey to compliance. Project Spectrum can potentially help protégés and mentors more effectively allocate resources within the Mentor-Protégé agreement. So there are only a few things that we require as a part of the Project Spectrum with the Mentor-Protégé program. So just as your Mentor-Protégé agreement is 2 years, your participation in Project Spectrum will be 2 years. We ask that you dedicate approximately 10 hours to Project Spectrum. You would be required to sign a mutually agreed to non-disclosure agreement in terms of data or use. And more information about Project Spectrum and just participation for small businesses can be found at the link on the slide above. Next slide. Protégé's participation include a customized and scaffolding journey towards CMMC compliance. The process is divided through 4 phases and is influenced by the level of CMMC compliance required for each protégé. Basically, what that means is the journey through Project Spectrum is customized for each small business based off where your company is and where it needs to get to in order to be CMMC compliance ready. And that's what Project Spectrum is here to do. And by participating in the Mentor-Protégé program, we want to ensure that for the mentors, you're getting a small business or a subcontractor that's going to be CMMC ready and CMMC certified. And for the small businesses, we're hoping to help take some of that financial burden off and prepare you and get you prepared for that journey for 2025. Next slide. So while the information on this slide is not specific to the Mentor-Protégé program, this is one of the best ways to learn about doing business with the DON. It's the 10 steps to help you get started to doing business with DON. I especially encourage visiting the Navy's, the Department of Navy's Office of Small Business website that Mrs. Washington discussed earlier. You can also use the tools where you can search what the DON buys on the website. There you can do it by NAICS code and by buying commands, and hopefully that will help you determine which buying command will provide sponsorship for your Mentor-Protégé agreement. The website also has more details you can review in the Mentor-Protégé guidebook. And lastly, you can reach out and find me at our headquarters using the contact information in this presentation. Next slide. So some of the key dates I just want you to remember from the presentation is that we typically we are now accepting new Mentor-Protégé agreements, and we're typically reviewing them through the month of November and the month of June. But as I mentioned before, as the workload permits, we will process and get them awarded as quickly as we can. Next slide. So I know I've said a mouthful today. To learn more about policies and regulations for the Mentor-Protégé program, this slide just provides the links for policy, the DON's requirements, and DOD requirements. Next slide. This slide provides my contact information. If you have any questions once the webinar is over, feel free to reach out to me. If you have questions in a couple of days, or you want to get in contact with small business directors, or just kind of want to make sure you understand everything before you start putting your Mentor-Protégé agreement in place, my information is here to assist and help you all in any way that we possibly can. And with that being said, I do believe I'm ready for questions.
Well, thank you, Ms. Thurston, for that informative presentation, ma'am. We do have a few questions. So you talked a little bit about the mentor-protege agreement needing to be like a match made in heaven, right? So those relationships, because the mentor and protege have to work so closely together to be successful. Is there a list of approved mentors or somewhere that a potential protege can go and look to see who are approved mentors? Any suggestions on how they can find out who they are?
Yes. So DOD, which I believe is the last link on the additional resources page, houses a Excel file sheet that has the current and former mentors and proteges. So if you're looking for potential matches to see, we also have one specific for the Department of Navy on the Department of Navy Office of Small Business website under the Mentor-Protégé Program website, where you can see a list of former and previous proteges to reach out and see if they would be interested in doing that agreement again.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. Next. So you talked about tying the mentor-protege agreements to challenges that the commands might have, where there might be capability gaps or something like that. We talked about the benefits to the defense industrial base with specific focus on knowledge-based services, manufacturing, and research and development. How does a potential protege or mentor go about finding what those challenges are that the commands might be having?
So I recommend a couple of things. The first thing being that you reach out to the small business directors within each of the major buying commands. They will have information on potential challenges and capability gaps. But before reaching out to them, I suggest that you reach out to their websites, which will have the long range forecast for potential buys that they may have coming up, and may also identify programs that they're looking to do in the future, but they may not have completely developed yet, and have conversations with them about those potential programs and products that will be coming up in the future to see if it's something that they're looking for small businesses to completely cover that potential, or if it's just going to be open, full and open competition. But by reaching out to those small business directors, you are getting the opportunity to let yourself be known as a small business that, hey, I can meet this capability and that I'm here to cover that gap.
Thank you. And just for our attendees, if you are looking to ask a question, please ask your questions in the Q&A feature. That's what I'm monitoring to get those questions over to Ms. Thurston to respond to. And for everyone's situational awareness, the slides will be available on our website under the outreach tab, specifically under past events. You will see a block for this webinar, and the slides will be available there. Okay, Ms. Thurston, so I know we have the guidebook posted on the website, but we have a question in reference to who can be a mentor. So in reference to who can be a mentor, is it a $100 million of contracts in the previous year, or is that a total over the life of the proposed mentor's business history? Can you clarify?
Yeah, so I can clarify. So DOD, let me first clarify and say that mentors are not approved by the Department of Navy. Mentors have to be approved at the DOD level. So DOD asks that you have $100 million in contracting from the previous fiscal year. However, we've had opportunities where the Department of Navy could essentially recommend a mentor that maybe didn't have the $100 million previous funds for the previous year. And that would just require us, the real reason behind having the $100 million is we want to ensure that the mentor is financially stable and can invest into a small business. While we appreciate small businesses trying to help small businesses, the goal of the mentor protege program is to ensure that we are passing down knowledge and capabilities to a small business. So we just want to ensure that the large business is capable of handling anything that may come that is required to be a mentor. So if you feel like you can be a mentor and you may not meet that particular need, please reach out and have a conversation with me, and we can determine if all we need to do is get a waiver and we can submit the recommendation to DOD for you to be an approved mentor.
Great, thank you. So if I'm a protege and I'm looking to form a partnership with a mentor, who do I contact at that company? Do I reach out to the small business office? Should I reach out to maybe the program manager of that office where there's a capability gap? I just don't know who to reach out to. Can you provide?
Reach out for, I just want to make sure I understand the question. We're saying like a small business wants to reach out to a large business, and who should they reach out to? Okay. So my recommendation is reach out to the small business department if they have one. But if you know of the program that you're trying to reach out to, I would also encourage you to reach out to that program manager to say, hey, I'm a small business. I have this capability, or we've been working together on this particular effort. You know, I have this capability. Would you be interested in formalizing the mentoring that I've been getting from you through a mentor-protege agreement? And here are the benefits that I feel like my small business can help you with. And I'm hoping that your large business could help me with these particular things. And this is how we could kind of benefit the Navy. And so have that conversation with these large businesses that you may be a tier 2 or tier 3 contractor, but you know that your product or service is making a difference in the overarching final product or service that's getting served to the DOD, and say, hey, I know, that we've been working together for a while. I would like to formalize this and kind of work on these things for my business to be more prepared, so that you can guarantee that you have this subcontracting relationship in the future. Because if we don't have these small businesses to help identify these gaps, how is it that these large businesses will continue to function?
And a follow on to that. So are 8As allowed to be mentors? Can a small business mentor another small business?
Yes. The only thing is we ask that the 8A have graduated in order for them to be a mentor. But yes, 8As, and I feel like that's the only one where you can kind of like be a mentor without most of the requirements, is if you recently graduated from the 8A program.
So not necessarily a current 8A, but you have now graduated from the program, you can mentor others, but you can also have a small business mentor to another small business as well.
Yes, that is an option.
Great, thank you. Is there a list of the goods and services in private sector critical to enhancing the DoD supplier base under slide 14? I need to see if my small business will qualify for this. I don't know if you want us to pull up slide 14. Would that help?
We don't have to. I know exactly what they're talking about. So they're discussing what I mentioned earlier, how previously to be a protege, you could only fall in one of the socioeconomic categories, such as small disadvantage or woman-owned. And recently they added, or you can just be a business providing critical service to the DoD suppliers or to the DoD warfighters. So there is no list of what that critical needs, products, or service is. It would have to be a compelling argument to not only me, but to DoD as well. Typically what we have seen is more obsolescence issues for products. So if there's a particular product that's in a major weapon system or some type of product that is provided to the warfighter, and that particular product is getting ready to go out and they don't have a replacement of what's going to replace that obsolescence thing. So what the Navy may be doing right now is they're buying up all of the inventory and stock in case they have any issues. But once we run out of that particular inventory or stock, we may not have anything to replace it. So if your company provides some type of product that could potentially replace the obsolete item, that would be something critical. And then you wouldn't have to fall into one of those socioeconomic categories, which are listed in the middle of slide 14.
Got it. So the next question we have talks about the small business directors at each of the buying commands. You can locate the small business professional contact list on our website on the homepage. You scroll to the bottom of the homepage, there's a map there. You click on the continue reading, and on that map, you can click on each of the states to locate those small business professionals that are at each of the commands. You can also go to their websites. We also have on our website, under the commands tab, each of our 10 major buying commands, and there's a link to the small business office at each of those commands, which then you can locate that long-range acquisition forecast that Ms. Thurston referred to. So, Ms. Thurston, when we talk about allowable costs, we have a question here about security clearances, and I'm going to take a step further, and the big one now is CMMC. Can you talk a little bit about allowable costs for those mentors and what opportunities there are for security clearances and CMMC to be allowable costs for reimbursement?
So as I mentioned, to participate within, or as an added benefit or bonus to participate in the Mentor-Protégé program, we're now offering the Project Spectrum, which covers a lot of the security and the cybersecurity at no cost to the mentor or the small business. So if there's a mentor that is mentoring this small business, and we know that this small business needs to get CMMC certified, no cost is required to either the mentor or the protege. The government has already decided to cover the cost if you're within the Mentor-Protégé program. So those costs that would normally be put on Mentor-Protégé agreements for mentors to prep and train and get things in place has now been removed, or what we like to say, you can now reallocate it to other things that would better serve the small business, because the government is going to cover that cost. So with that being said, we don't expect to see much, if any, CMMC or any type of cybersecurity costs on mentor-protege agreements, because as being a part of it, both specifically the protege, but the mentor would have the opportunity to participate with the Project Spectrum and to work to get those capabilities corrected.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the mentor-protege agreement subcontracting credit on a hybrid agreement captured in ESRS?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
So the mentor-protege subcontracting credit on a hybrid agreement, is that captured in ESRS?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is for international defense sales. Could international defense sales development be included in the Mentor-Protégé program goals for the mentor to assist in certain export goals for the protege?
I'm sorry, in the Mentor-Protégé goals?
Yes.
Could this particular business be included in the goals? Or I don't think I understand.
In their export goals, can they assist
Okay.
with certain export goals for the protege? Can that be included as part of their mentor-protege agreement overall goals?
Yes, so the goals, the overall goals that are established on the mentor-protege agreement are going to be different and specific to each mentor and protege. So if the goal or the overarching goal for that protege is to work on their export or whatever their particular goals may be, that will be the goals for that particular agreement. And there's no cookie cutter, oh, these are all of the goals and you have to do this. Each mentor and protege will have specific goals. So a mentor may have a couple of proteges, and each one of those proteges could have different goals.
Great, thank you. So we know there's a difference between the DOD Mentor-Protégé Program and SBA. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the two or how they are aligned?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about a difference. So let me first say, because the biggest question that we always get is, if I'm participating in the DOD Mentor-Protégé Program, can I participate in the SBIR program? So first things first is, yes, because the programs are completely separate, you have the opportunity to participate in both of the programs. Specifically, what DOD's program does, DOD's is covered, or the DOD program is covered by all of the Department of Defense agencies. So being a protege, specifically small businesses, you can only have one mentor-protege agreement within the DOD's mentor-protege program. So if you have an agreement with the Department of Navy, you cannot have an agreement with Army, Air Force, Coast Guard. You can only have one within the DOD. SBIR, but you could have one with the DOD program and one with the SBIR.
SBIR or
I'm sorry.
SBA?
I apologize. I apologize. The SBA. Do I know the details of the SBA's Mentor Protege program? I do not, but I can speak to those. Are the biggest difference and the biggest questions that I do get is, if I'm participating in the SBA Mentor Protege program, can I participate in DOD? And yes, you can, but I want to make it clear that when you're in the DOD, you can only participate with one agency.
And potentially, maybe that's a future webinar that we can have with you and the SBA. So we'll get that one for early next year. Great idea, Mercedes. So you talked before, and can you just refresh us on where these businesses can find that approved list of mentors on the OSD OSBP website, please?
Yes. So for DOD on slide 27, that bottom link is the link to the DOD Mentor Protege, and there is a link on the side that says a list of current agreements, and that will show former and previous proteges and mentors. And then on the Department of Navy's website, we have a PDF file that lists former mentors and proteges, as well as the current agreements that we have.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this small business was told that they're too small to be a potential mentor or protege. How many employees are needed for a small business to participate in this program?
To be a mentor or a protege?
To be a protege.
Oh, well, to be a protege, I don't necessarily think that there is if you have a business,
there's no set number.
No, there's no set number. Typically before, and one of the requirements that has been removed was you had to be half or no more than half the size standard of your NAICS code, and that has since been removed. So I don't think there's a specific number of, oh, you're too small. As a matter of fact, we've seen companies grow because of the Mentor Protege program and the development and the assistance that they're getting. So I would be interested to know, like, who said that you were too small? Was it like you weren't approved because you were too small? Or did your mentor, the person you went to, said that you were too small, and maybe they didn't see the necessary return on investment to kind of invest in that company right then. But then I would go back to that mentor and say, well, what do I need to do to get to a point where we can be within a mentor protege agreement? Or would you think that a mentor protege agreement would prepare me to get to the level that your expectation of me to be? But there is no rule written down anywhere that says a small business has to have this many employees or has to have this amount of money. The goal is we take you at where you are when you come in, and we want to see that growth. And we've seen the growth with the Mentor Protege program. We've had companies with very small employees triple or double their number of employees by the time the Mentor Protege agreement is over. So there is no, just to clarify, there is no requirement to say you have to be this small or this. You just have to be a small business that falls in one of those socioeconomic categories.
And I think you hit on it when you said the return on investment. And it goes back to what you talked about earlier, where this needs to be that match made in heaven between
Yes.
the mentor and the protege. So your advice in, going back to that mentor and asking that question, or what do I need to do developmentally to posture myself to be a protege? Or potentially look at other large primes, depending on what your area of service is. So
yes,
thank you. And we do have one more question. So we still have some time if you have some questions in for Ms. Thurston. We go So security clearances such as secret, top secret, the cost for the investigation, those are areas that are potentially eligible for reimbursement to the mentor in a agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. It would be in a manner of, it just can't be, oh, now all of a sudden I need to get these security clearances approved. It would have to be, again, documented in the agreement, and why is it necessary, or how is it necessary for this small business to have these security clearances all of a sudden now that we're doing a mentor-protege agreement. So I'm sure there are a few stipulations, but if it can be documented successfully in the agreement, then that could be an approved cost.
Great. And in your presentation, you talked to some size standards. Can you just repeat, do we need to pull the slides up, the size standards that you talked to early on in your presentation?
Which slide are we discussing specifically?
I know, I apologize. That was one of the questions that came in. Please repeat the small business size standards that you mentioned early in your presentation.
So if I mentioned anything about a size standard, what I was saying was the National Defense Authorization Act removed the requirements of being half the size standard of your particular NAICS code. So previously, previous to NDAA 2020, in order to participate in the Mentor-Protégé Program, a protege had to be half of their NAICS size standard. That requirement has now been removed. So throw the size standard out the way. As long as you are a small business within the NAICS code that you identify with, and you are one of those socioeconomic categories, or that critical, or that company that provides that critical service, you are eligible to be a protege within the Mentor-Protégé Program. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody, but let me clarify that now. No, there is no size standard. If you identify, if you fall under the small business number for that particular NAICS code, and again, the socioeconomic category, you can be a protege.
Great. So you talked a little bit about that Center of Excellence, and we're so excited about you kicking off that initiative to get that stood up. Can you talk about how business was done before and the benefit of this Center of Excellence that you've been able to establish?
Definitely. So we are very excited to have a Center of Excellence for our Mentor-Protégé Program and our Mentor-Protégé agreements. Previously, we kind of had all the requirements of DFARS and DOD, and then Department of Navy would say, okay, mentor, you have to have a protege. That protege has to be on a contract that you have with the Navy, because we're only going to add the Mentor-Protégé as a CLIN to a current or established contract that you had, which was would hinder some of the potential agreements that we could put in place, because many of these Navy primes have these small businesses that may not be on a contract with the Navy yet, but they want to incorporate some of that technology into a contract that's already established. So by creating the Center of Excellence, it's a standalone contract that's not required to be a part of any contract. So you do not have to have that small business as a subcontractor already on this contract that you've established. It opens the aperture up for primes to look at those small businesses that may not necessarily be involved with that program of record now, but the efforts and the products or services that they can provide can eventually be incorporated into it once we kind of build that small business up to be something that can be put on a potential contract. So the standalone contracts kind of just open it up and make it easier for these primes to actually mentor these companies to build them up and be that small business industrial base that we need for the Navy.
Thank you. And just one more question. If I'm a small business and I'm interested in being a part of the Navy's Mentor-Protégé Program, I've done some research and identified areas where there are capability gaps, and I think that my business fits in. I've looked at the OSD website and I've identified a potential mentor. Can I set some time up to talk to you about where I am and potential steps forward, and you be available to help guide me through that process?
Absolutely. I am here. That is my job, is to help kind of get at least clarify. As Ms. Washington said, we ask that you've done that research and you kind of already kind of talked. But if you have questions and say, hey, this is the direction that we want to go in, we kind of want clarifications with this. We feel like we have something that could fit between two potential major buying commands. You know, do we have one you could suggest? Would you want to set up a meeting with, you know, the small business directors from those two so we could determine which major buying command works for you? Or if you have any questions, I am here, and that is what I'm here for. So please use my contact information. I'm happy to do mentoring sessions where we just kind of go through any thought processes that you may have, and just answer those questions. Like I said, the Mentor-Protégé Program is open for business, and we're ecstatic to have these Mentor-Protégé agreements put in place. So please reach out to me if you have any questions.
And they can also reach out to their small business director and include you in on that as well. So
Correct.
Thanks so much, Ms. Thurston, for your time. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Ms. Thurston will set up a webinar potentially in the February timeframe with the SBA Mentor-Protégé Agreement Program Manager, and we can do a dual one. So be on the lookout for that. If you have any recommendations for a topic that you would like to see presented, please forward us an email at OSBP, that stands for Office of Small Business Programs, .pao@navy.mil. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Happy holidays, everyone.
Have a good one.